Coming up, we're diving back into the inbox.
You're listening to Double Tap, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Stephen Scott and Shaun Priest.
Hey guys, welcome along to another episode of Double Tap. How are you today, Shaun Priest? Are you feeling well?
Beautiful.
Is your relationship intact?
Will you stop? Stephen, look, there's private life and then there's whatever this is, okay? And never the two shall meet like you and Sarah anymore. Anyway, yes.
Is that it? Am I banished from the house?
You're banished. Yes, you ruined it.
That's a shame.
I'm fine, thank you.
Excellent. You okay? You sound a bit battle weary. Did you have a fight?
No, everything's glorious in our relationship. Thank you. Stop trying to sink it. Everything's great.
Oh,
now
dear.
It's got all weird. Now it sounds like I'm protesting too much.
It does. It's like, you really are protesting too much. I feel we need to get Sarah in here.
Right,
like an episode of Dr. Phil going on.
This is just our therapy session, all right? We're not bringing other members in.
All right, so if we don't mention anyone outside, it's like Fight Club.
Yes,
don't mention anything. Or it's the opposite of Fight Club, isn't it? Because you're outside Fight Club, you wouldn't mention about being in.
Now my relationship's like Fight Club. All right, thanks.
I've never seen that movie. I was thinking the amount of movies in life I've never seen.
Okay. Fight Club, everyone seems to love it. I'm going to be controversial here.
Was it terrible?
I thought it was a bit boring, but I also think The Sopranos, it's all right.
Do you know what? You're not the first to say it. And I think it's because if you struggle with the first few episodes, it's not happening for you.
I just got a bit bored, to be honest. And it's not like it's anything we haven't seen before. And when it comes to the gangster genre.
But it was at the time, you see, that's the thing.
It is old, thinking about it.
It is?
Yeah.
So I was thinking back to, you can often date shows by the type of technology they're using in it. Mm-hmm. It's like, they don't even have iPhones then because there was no such thing as an iPhone and they barely internet. And, how did they live? How did they conduct their crimes?
Breaking Bad was fantastic, though.
Breaking Bad was good. And remember that became audio described, 10 years later or something?
Oh, it was a disgrace. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know the show I'd love to watch and I cannot? Everyone talks about it and I would love to watch it. And I think it's only AMI that ever had it with audio description, which makes sense because that's what AMI does. AMI TV is that's what it's, to use a phrase you used yesterday, raison d'etre.
Oh, well done. You said it much better than I did.
was a French singer
yes.
At one time, wasn't she? Yeah. Or was that her sister Marc?
No, please carry on. What was the show?
Schitt's Creek.
Oof, dear. Okay, let's move on.
No, but
Sorry,
that was the name of the show. That was the name of the show. It was a show about a family that had they were millionaires and then they lost it all for whatever reason.
So sorry, Mr. F. Sometimes he just goes rogue. I don't know what to do.
But that's what it was about. And then the family moved to this town because he bought this town as a joke.
I don't want to know anymore.
And then he moved to it. It's called Schitt's Creek.
Stop! You can't say it again. Don't make it worse.
That's what it's called.
Okay, very good. Very, very good. I like Corner Gas. Hello, Canada. How are you?
What's that?
Oh, don't say that. It was hilarious. Corner Gas was amazing.
Corner Gas?
Yeah, Canadian.
We used to have a little heater in our house. I'm sure that was a Corner Gas, wasn't it?
That was Calor Gas.
Was that Calor Gas?
Not the same at all. Anyway, should we get into the feedback, please?
Shall we? Oh, why not? Do you know what? I like these shows. It's not that I don't like the other shows, but I like these shows.
Please press the E
Do you
button.
want to press E? I'm not even on the thing. I was so busy talking about whatever I was talking about. Yeah, okay. I'll hit E.
Email. We get email. We get your email every day.
Ding dong.
Here's your mail today.
And it's not only emails, by the way. It's WhatsApp messages. It is. We get messages on YouTube.
Do we?
Tiki-talkie.
We're not on TikTok.
We are on TikTok. I mean, I don't have any involvement in this whatsoever, but we are on TikTok. People are watching these clips on TikTok.
You popped up on Facebook Watch the other day, I noticed, ranting about some nonsense or other.
That sounds about right.
I noticed it was you, not me, but no, that's fine.
Yeah, you got to say something interesting to be on the internet, don't you?
Oof. Fair point, actually. Okay, emails.
This relationship's becoming sour. It's not really domestic, I think. Right. Oh, I've made a mistake here. Let me just fix myself here.
Oh, what have you done now?
I've lost the thing.
That's because I made you press E, isn't it?
You made me press E and that threw everything out. Right, there we go. I've got it now. It's fine.
We filmed. No one noticed.
Exactly. That's right. This absolutely is not a catastrophe. It's a tech show, honest. Right, here's Marc.
Hey, Shaun and Stephen, Marc Jean in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, checking in after a while. Always keep listening to the show, though, and interested in what's up and coming, especially with all the AI stuff and the new iOS 26. Looking forward to that. But my question has not to do with that. My question has to do with chat apps. I use WhatsApp primarily, but somebody has created a group called Friends of Jacket FM on Zello because there is a pending shutdown apparently that's going to happen with Jacket FM. The web developer has already decided for whatever reasons to do that. So somebody created this group over on Zello. Zello with a Z like Jello, but with a Z. Well, it's like a walkie-talkie app. And in the old days, you used to be able to search on Zello by topic for groups of interest that you could join, either publicly or privately, and had to be approved. Apparently, that is no longer the case. The search for channel criteria is still there, but it doesn't work. So I'm just wondering if anybody knows how to find topics of interest on Zello, or for that matter, on any other talking social media that's easily accessible. Clubhouse, since its incarnation of 2.0, has been nothing but difficult, and most people in the blind community have jumped off the bandwagon, at least those of us who use VoiceOver, due to its inaccessibility. It's coming back, but it's wonky. Discord, I've never liked either. So for me, those two are out. But I'm just curious if anybody knows of any social apps where you can join and search by topic of interest to join groups of interest. Thanks so much for all the good work that you guys do. It's always enjoyable to listen to your show, and all the best from Montreal.
Oh, thank you, Marc. It's lovely to hear from you too. And I have to say, a great conversation topic, this one, because I haven't really given much thought to these apps for a long time. I mean, look, for historical reference, Shaun and I pretty much met through, well, not directly through Zello, but we certainly became friends through Zello. I mean, actually, it's Zello's fault that we're here today.
Yes, blame Zello.
Shut it down.
I mean, Zello blew up. I think, as a lot of these apps are, I think the community first become aware of it through AppleVis, and then Zello was just the place to be. Some people are on there 24/7, and it was great. It's a walkie-talkie app, so audio first, absolutely amazing. I loved it. Met so many people through it, and then they made a change. Whereas when it used to be that if the app was running but not in focus, you could still hear any chatter on there. So people could shout out, "Hey, anyone here?" And you could go back in and respond. And at one of the updates took that away. So you had to be actively in the app at the time to hear any of the chat. And it sort of killed it off. And people went away from it. I went back to it not long ago, actually. Well, I say that, probably 8 months ago. And tried it out again, because I wanted to see if any of the old voices were still there. And I came across exactly that problem. You can search for groups, you can make your own channels or rooms or whatever they call them. And it used to be, hey, type blind in the search field and you come up with hundreds and hundreds of rooms. That didn't work for me either. So I don't know the answer to this. And I don't know if it's a case of it's been fixed or there's a workaround. But yeah, I would love to know the answer to this as well.
It seems strange to me because so many blind people used it, and it's not exclusively blind people, of course, but there's so many blind people using it. Who was developing it? Who was behind it? And why were they not taking on board any of the concerns that blind people had about the accessibility? I mean, that first thing, the update to decide whether or not you could listen to it outside the app.
That could have been an
such
iOS.
an easy fix.
That could have been an iOS issue.
Yeah, it could have been, but I think there must have been ways to get around that. I mean, certainly there are now. You can have background play, so it wouldn't be impossible to do that now. So you could fix that, and if there's an issue with the search, then get it fixed. I mean, how hard is that?
Well, I believe the main revenue stream for Zello is Zello for Work. If you think of, teams on the road being able to use a walkie-talkie style app with no distance or using the internet, I mean, it's great for certain organizations, and I think that's their main selling point. I don't think it's the free version to allow us all to talk to each other. So, but the accessibility was fine at the time. It was just a few of those options. But it wasn't just that. Anyway, other apps came along, such as Clubhouse and Braille and Jacket FM, and people just sort of thinned out, I suppose. We were always looking for the next big thing. Yeah. I'm surprised that Jacket FM is going away. That seems incredibly popular. But I've heard that rumor as well. I haven't managed to find the post from the developer. Actually, I haven't been able to confirm that he said, I'm closing it down, I'm starting a different app. So, yeah, I don't know, but I've heard that as well. Which seems a shame.
Just to, for people who aren't following along with this, because there's so many of these things come out, and then everyone jumps to it, and then people go, oh, it's the greatest thing. And then suddenly it's gone. You think, okay, what happened there? Mm-hmm. What is Jacket FM? How would you describe it? I mean, is it like an audio? Because some people say it's like audio Twitter.
It is, yeah. It's an audio-based forum. Basically, you just post up your message, but it's all audio recordings. So
you can record your message and reply. You can
that's
join the
right.
chat.
Yeah. Right. That's what we like. We like the audio format, right? So that's why it tends to be lots of blind people on these audio social media platforms. But they're not without their dangers, because hosting that amount and processing that amount of audio does cost money. Yeah. So a lot of these you'll see pop up and then suddenly disappear because they become very popular, and suddenly there's a large monthly fee for storing those audio messages in the first place. So you do see them pop up and go again.
So is there anything like that now? I mean, is Zello pretty much dead? I mean, you were back on 8 months ago. I'm almost tempted to try it today just to see what it's like.
Yeah, you know
see
what?
if there's anyone on it.
Yeah, I will do that as well. But I don't know. Zello's not dead, I don't think. But,
the community might be dead around it. That's the
community,
problem, right?
If you can't join a group, if you can't find a group, you got a bit of trouble. But I don't know, Clubhouse, I know people still use Clubhouse. I don't know where I sit with that, because I thought the accessibility was terrible in Clubhouse. But I know lots of blind people say, no, it's fine. You just got to know how to use it. Yeah. And maybe that is the case. I don't want to invest the time into it. I remember there was that Club Deck?
That's right.
The accessible version, but I don't think that works anymore, or at least I haven't tried it. So it's WhatsApp for me. WhatsApp communities, I don't know if you can search the WhatsApp communities. I haven't really looked into that either. Maybe you can search for blind. Honestly, I don't know.
I think the thing I liked most about Zello was the live aspect to it. I wasn't having to go in and listen to messages all the time, or go in and action something to go and listen to a pile of messages. I could just listen. I could just have it by my bed at night if I wanted to, just playing away. Yeah. And I could join in the conversation. If someone said, hey, do you know how to fix this? You could jump on a call. And I remember it being a real help to me in the early days when I first found out about it, because I was talking to people probably similar to you. You were talking to a lot of people who were blind, who were, just talking about their everyday life. And it was really nice, actually, because you could hear them in everyday existence, dealing with the kids, dealing with the challenges they face.
Yeah.
And it was actually really pleasant to listen to, because every so often you'd say, so how are you doing that? And they would say, oh, I'm doing this. And you go, oh. And you'd almost kind of bank that piece of information for the future, because you think, I might need to know that one day. It's really
very
interesting.
cool app, and possibly still is. We don't know. We'll try it.
Back on. Now, as for Discord, I know it's arguably accessible. And I say arguably because I see people using it. I remember we had, I think, our good friend Jacob here at AMI Audio, Jacob Szymanski, who hosts AMI Today. He had done a demo for us of using it with NVDA, and seems to get on pretty well with it. And I don't know if it's a generational thing, or because it's more kind of geared towards gamers, it kind of puts some people off. I know there's some communities that have existed on it where, they go in and they talk. I don't know if it's the same kind of thing, if it's like a live chat room. I've tried it, but I've never managed to. I seem to always end up in empty rooms, which I don't know if it's because everyone else leaves when I arrive, or,
yeah, everyone leaves and Stephen walks in.
Stephen's here, get out, go.
It's very, there's a lot you can do in Discord, and because of that, there is a lot to it. So I think it's a bit scary to just dip your toe into. But Discord isn't just for gaming. It's a lot of sort of social groups use Discord or have a Discord channel that you can jump on and just have a audio room discussion. So yeah,
So it's more like Clubhouse then. You've got these active rooms.
it is more like Clubhouse, yeah, but it's also a bit like the chat apps you used to have back in the day, because it isn't just audio. Now you can do other things with it, but audio is the main thing. It is just a chat room. But yeah, it is quite daunting, I will say. And it's just, with all these social media platforms, I don't want to invest the time. I'm too busy watching Facebook.
I know, and I think sometimes we hide in that, don't we? It's like it's just easier to do that. But I kind of do miss the conversational aspect of
Absolutely.
Zello. I'd like to get that back somehow. So that'd be interesting. Look, if you're part of a community, perhaps online, some new app that's come along, or maybe a service, or one of the services that we're all talking about here that you perhaps have tried and like and have a good community you found on there, then let us know. Yeah, but I'd be intrigued to hear about that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Thank you for that, Mark. I appreciate it. And Mary's up next.
Hello. One of you asked whether you could open an app when you're offline with Siri. I turned off my internet, and yes, you can. Siri will even come up and tell you that you're offline. From Mary Hart.
There you go. So Siri is useful for something.
Very good. I did not know that.
No.
It's funny, actually. I have put my Meta Ray-Bans on the other day and didn't have my phone, I noticed, when I was outside. And I asked it the time, and it told me.
Yeah, it's got some capability in there.
Some
hasn't it?
capability are still on device, the basic stuff. And yeah, I guess it's the same for Siri. That's nice to know, though. Thank you.
And once they improve the battery life on these glasses, once they get that nailed down, I think then you're going to start to see SIM versions coming out where you'll be able to have a SIM card in them. And it'll be like the Apple Watch. It'll be a separate device.
Yeah,
it
maybe.
can do calls. It can do things. I mean, obviously, the whole thing is going to be in the future. It's going to be AI driven. So everything will be AI based. So it'll be like, you can do a lot of stuff on device, but how much you can do in an actual pair of glasses versus being connected to the cloud, which is kind of how AI is working at the moment.
It is.
And will probably for a long time. I mean, I can't imagine we're going to get to a point where, especially if you want it to improve, how you can do it without the cloud, I don't know. But there'll be limited functionality, things you can do on the glasses, things you can do on your watch. It's so funny, isn't it? The Apple Watch and Samsung Watch, and I know that Galaxy AI is kind of coming along, but it seems to me so obvious that would be the device you would go to first, rather than having to think about a whole new product category like wearables. I mean, we've got it. If you've got the Apple Watch, for example, you've got an AI device right there, a great device that you can talk to, you could communicate with. I mean, in a natural way, you've got good audio, good microphones. So
And
it's
what
all
does
there.
it need? It just needs an internet connection and a good microphone and speaker.
And it's got all that. I
And
mean,
it's
if you've
got
got a
that.
SIM card version, you're completely connected. And obviously, if you've got your phone, as you probably will have anyway, you've got a great device there as well. So, it seems so obvious, doesn't it?
It does.
But, I think the Apple reasons are perhaps slightly larger and more systemic.
Hallucinations and privacy. That's
Well,
the
yeah,
stumbling
but
blocks.
also, inside Apple, it's a bit of a hot
What?
mess.
Well, how do you know?
Because I just.
When was the
believe
last
it
time
to
you
be
were
true.
in Apple House?
I was in a
Park
store.
Tower?
I was in a store once. I don't know. People felt rushed. Let's go to Nicole.
Hello, Stephen and Shaun. My name is Nicole, and I'm calling from Saskatoon. I have a couple of questions and then a comment. So my first question is about CDs to downloadable content, if that's possible, and how it would be possible. So I have quite a large collection of CDs that I would like to put into a format that is where I can listen to it with the AirPods or earbuds that are Bluetooth, because so currently I have a Stratus 4M, which is quite a large CD player, and to carry that around with me is difficult. And then it has a spot for a wired headset, but again, that feels quite confining now that I'm used to the Bluetooth ones. The only other CD player that I can find is a little round one that looks like, Stephen, are you ready? It looks like a Cookie.
Cookie!
And it has a headphone jack, a wired jack built into it as well. Those ones are incredibly difficult to find. So, and that was, I don't know, a couple of years ago that I was able to find those. But still, what I really want is to be able to put all of this information that I have on these CDs, this music, and I have some dramas and things like on CDs as well. I'd like to put that onto my phone or onto, so preferably not the computer because that's not portable, and I don't know that Bluetooth anything can be connected to the computer without there being quite a lag, and even perhaps a little bit of distortion when there's music involved. I don't know if that's still correct, but that's what I had heard a few years ago. The only other way I can think of doing this would be to purchase them again, all the CDs that I have, to purchase them again in downloadable content. But that would mean paying for all of this stuff that I've already paid for. It would mean paying for it twice, and that's not fair. So is there a way around this? Bye for now.
Thanks, Nicole. You know what? I will say, I think that music companies could have curried favour with the CD people like me and Nicole here, by offering an ability to almost like, I don't know how you could do it, but maybe through some kind of scanning a code or something on the CD to be able to almost trade that or get a digital download code to be able to download the album from a provider rather than having to go out and buy it again.
How that wouldn't be abused, though, I have no idea.
No, I know.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't seem fair. And you shouldn't absolutely not have to buy them again. There's a couple of different ways you can go here. But, Stephen, you're the CD ripping, as the
I'm not really, though. I'm not. No,
expert.
I'm not.
You're always ripping your CDs to FLAC.
Trying different things.
Okay, I will say this. There's a few different routes you can go down. So, firstly, you mentioned you have a computer, and this is the way I would do it, but I'm a bit old school, so I don't know if there's a different way. Firstly, you need a CD player on your computer. So it's either got one built in, but for the last, 15 years, they don't usually have a CD player. So you would have to buy an external USB CD player. Plug that into your computer, and then there's software on there that you put the CD in, and it will convert it to a digital format, either MP3 or FLAC. I would say MP3 is probably your safest bet. And then you have a list of all these files, and most of the time, if you've got an internet connection, it will also name these tracks so you know what they are. And then you have a digital copy. It takes some time, but you would have to go through your entire CD collection, ripping these CDs into digital format. Once you've got them onto your computer, you can pretty much use them anywhere. You can listen to them on your computer, or you can use an app on your phone, such as VLC Player or Dropbox, or I'm sure there's lots of others, to stream those, to copy those audio files onto your phone and simply play them from there. So it's doable. Now, as to the software you would need to use on your computer, it depends on which computer it is. It may already be built in. QuickTime, does that do it? I know iTunes used to.
No, it's a music app now you have to use.
The music app, okay. But I'm sure our listeners will be able to help with accessible software. If it's Windows, as I said, I'm sure we'll get some suggestions for you.
It was Windows Media Player, wasn't it? That was the one we always used to use.
Used to be. It's just something I haven't done in a long time. I used to use an app, software called CDDA Extractor back in the day. That was very quick, named all the tracks, and it was excellent. But honestly, I'm talking, 15 years ago, like I said.
That'll probably still work, though. You'd be amazed. I mean, that's the thing with the PCs. You're more likely to get more, more software that's available to you that's accessible from the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good shout there, Shaun. I like that.
Thank you.
I've
Any
never
other
found
options?
the best way to do it. I mean, honestly, because I jump between so many machines all the time. I mean, I used the Mac. I used iTunes up until it became music. It's not the most accessible way of doing it.
I hated iTunes. I was wondering if QuickTime could do it.
To be fair, it's not that it's inaccessible. It's just that it's the function. It's not the most usable option for me. I did prefer doing it on the PC. Windows Media Player was my choice. And what was cool was you could set your settings to say, right, okay, automatically import my CDs, right into the computer. Set my rip settings to MP3 or whatever you wanted it to be, and then every time you put a CD in, it would just do it, and it would spit the disc back out at the end, and then you would know it was done, and you just do the next one, and you just keep going and going and going. Now, the only challenge there was if you weren't checking it, you could end up with a lot of files with untitled names. Because it wouldn't, this I imagine will have improved, but I remember when I used to do it, you used to get a lot of albums that didn't have any track listings.
Yes,
It
that's right.
probably is improved now. Because
I would hope so.
But
there's no guarantee. You do have to check them, and if not, you'll get a track called track1.mp3, and you have to physically go in there and rename it.
Isn't it?
Yes, it is. I will say this. There's also the other option of just subscribing to a music streaming service, depending on how much you want to spend. You know, it could be something like, $13, depending on where you are, a month for a audio streaming service, which will have all your CDs as part of the service. You know, there's millions of songs on Apple Music.
That's right, you can almost recreate your library.
Amazon Music, and you can create, but you can listen to everything, plus everything that's new, plus podcasts, and everything else. But of course, that's an ongoing cost forever until you don't want the service anymore.
Yeah, if you want to do it, with the CDs you have, then you do have to rip them in. And the thing is, it does feel like there's a push away from being able to do that. And, there are services like Plex, but that went paid, I think, recently. So now you have to pay for Plex.
Yes.
Which is like a media server application. You could get it like on the Apple TV, for example. You could have, all your, if you had movies or you had, people would rip their DVDs or whatever, you could put all that into Plex. That was a common use for it, but you could put music in it as well. And it would have shiny artwork and all that kind of nice stuff if you were watching it on the TV. But,
you could have videos, everything.
Yeah, you could do all kinds of stuff.
Also a skill for the Echo smart speaker. I believe it's SoundStream. Where you could just put your files into Dropbox, and it would just, you could ask your smart speaker to play it, and it would play any audio you had in there. That was very good too.
Is that still going though?
I don't know. I haven't used it in a long time.
Yeah, there was another one, but I can't remember the name of it. There was another one, music, something to do with music. I can't remember, but there's a few.
I'm sure there'll be similar skills in the skill store.
Anyway, you can let us know, and you can get in touch in this way.
Get in touch with Double Tap. Email feedback at doubletaponair.com. Leave us a voicemail at 1-877-803-4567. And now you can send an audio or video message to us on WhatsApp. That number is 1-613-481-0144.
Okay, let's get back into the emails, and Ray is up next.
Hi, Stephen and Shaun. Stephen's rant on inaccessible digital and FM radios certainly strikes a chord with many, especially older listeners like me. With streaming via the internet and smart speakers, many would doubtless say the time has passed when we need an accessible radio. But wait a minute. For the last year or more, Terra Technologies have been developing a talking DAB and FM radio, which may actually launch soon. Perhaps you could interview Mo Iqbal about this at Terra Technology. Not sure how you guys keep up the daily workflow, but thanks for the continuous chat and interviews around blindness and tech and other issues. Recording a weekly talking newspaper is enough for me. A short message to Shaun. Is his podcast for getting started with Audacity Audio Editor still around? I'd like to hear it, and maybe our TN in the Midlands could use it to get others doing the weekly work I do alone in editing and mastering RTN. Yes, talking newspapers are still a thing here in the UK. Well, for older listeners anyway. Thanks for all you do, Ray in central Birmingham.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Ray. I think I still have that somewhere. I don't believe it's on the website. So
I think we were a bit nervous putting it up, weren't we? Because it was done
a while ago.
Of it,
the general concepts will be the same, and I think the keyboard shortcuts that I demonstrate are the same. You know what? I'll listen back through, and if it's applicable, I'll send it to you. We should have an email for Ray.
Yeah,
there.
we do. Yeah, we do.
Okay. If you don't hear from me, send another email and I will send you a link or
immediately
somehow.
Send another email, Ray, because
actually, Shaun we're dealing with. That's actually true. Just send me an email saying it's me. Send me the Audacity demo, and I will send it you.
Thanks for that, Ray. Let's go to Tom.
Hello, this is Tom in Colorado. I am calling today about an interview you did today regarding the Stellar Trek device with a user of that device. At the very tail end of that interview, the person you interviewed seemed to imply rather strongly that the Stellar Trek provided for indoor navigation. I'm not finding that in any of the Stellar Trek information. It's, as far as I can tell, it's all about GPS, so there isn't anything that has to do with indoor navigation at this time. Can you please get clarification on that? Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, I can give you clarification. I did hear that as well in that interview, and it did kind of perk my interest up. I did reach out to HumanWare and ask the question, okay, so hang on, what's this indoor mode thing all about? That sounds cool. But unfortunately, it kind of led to a dead end. There is no indoor mode navigation in the Stellar Trek. It is purely for outdoor mode. It's driven by GPS. It doesn't have a SIM card in there, so it's not connected to the internet. So internal navigation would be, I guess, driven by the camera, but that's not something that it is capable of doing as yet. That might be something they do down the line, but that wasn't the impression I was getting from HumanWare. So, sorry, Tom. No indoor navigation. I know I was rather excited by that as well, but no. Okay, let's move on to Steve.
I am getting refresher lessons in O&M and will be in other blindness areas this summer in North Carolina. They are skills that I haven't used, and as it is said, if you don't use them, you will lose them. I was talking with my O&M instructor about the OCO app. I was happy to hear that she works with people in doing training on the app and she has it installed on her iPhone. She said it works at every intersection except one here in Durham, North Carolina, but I was sad to learn the OCO app is only available for the iPhone and not Android. After telling her about Glide, she is interested in it and plans to inform the company she works for about it so they could use one in the future to work with other clients. It is also sad that Stephen can't get some refresher lessons in Scotland, as this seems to be a common thing in the US. When I was going through my first rehab training program as a newly blind person in 1997, there was a gentleman in his 50s who was there for some refresher lessons. Now I'm the one in my 50s going back for refresher lessons. Thanks so much for the great shows and helpful information. Steve in Durham, the one in North Carolina.
Ah, the one in North Carolina.
Oh, Carolina.
Oh,
Beautiful.
Carolina.
Okay, Stephen, were you trying to get refresher lessons? I don't remember that.
No, we were talking about this. Is this an option available? Because I think we were talking about you and your horrendously bad
My
O&M
mobility
skills.
is fantastic. Not one single lesson,
I taught you.
You did. Well, you threw a cane at me, said, right, use that.
Yeah. Stop hanging on to me. Figure this out. And I pushed you towards a wall.
Absolutely true, though. I mean, O&M is so important. Refreshing that is also so important. I'm thinking of our friend kayaker, Scott, who did a, what's it called, leader dog course. Now, I always thought kayaker was so confident when it comes to, mobility, getting out there. But he did the leader dog course, which is basically the same sort of thing, giving you a refresher. And he got so much from it. It is important.
Yeah, and it's funny because again with the guide dog assessment yesterday I was telling you about, one of the things they asked was, when were you last trained with O&M? When did you last have your O&M instruction? And I said, I think I was 18. Because
how long ago was
school.
that, Stephen?
That was many, many years ago. If you can subtract the number 43, I think I'm still 43 from 18,
or the other way round. Yes,
then
that's
you will,
how many years.
Yes.
Yeah,
Maths are not my skills.
Do you know what it is, though? I don't feel the need for... I'm totally opening myself up for being attacked here. I honestly don't feel the need for O&M training. Why is that? Because, as you say...
Well, you're getting around.
I am awful at it, but I do get around. And I feel fully confident, around here. In places I don't know, not so much. Of course not. But I don't know. I just don't feel the need for it.
I think that's the bit. I think the bit is when you feel... You get to know a location, you get to know an area. I'll give you an example, actually, where it all can go horribly wrong, even where you know where you are. And that was when we had a rather bad storm here in the UK last year. I think it was last year. And it was remember that day, that one day where we had that horrible storm? You weren't allowed to leave the house.
All the wind, yes.
Yeah. And, it was pretty bad. And around our area, there were lots of trees had come down. Mm-hmm. And the path I walked to my mum's house had been blocked by a tree. And I didn't know this, obviously, until I was literally walking into the tree. And I thought, okay, this is a problem because I don't know how to get out of this and get myself... Actually, I'll tell you what it was. I was coming back. That's what it was. I was coming back the way. It wasn't I was going to, because I knew the route. I knew an alternative route going to my mum's, but coming back, I must have come in a different way. I don't know how I'd done it. But anyway, whatever I'd done, maybe a taxi over or whatever it was. But I was walking back and I hit into this tree and I thought, how do I get from here now home? because I don't know what the road is to get me back round to the main street. And so I had to get Ira on the case and help me out. And, with Ira and, the mobility skills that I've got, to find my way, I was able to navigate my way.
What were those mobility skills that I am missing, apparently?
Well, it's hard to explain. It honestly is. I think until you have the skills, until you get taught what you're using your cane for, how you're using your cane. Yeah, well, I mean, it's not. It's just a
shoreline. You feel around. You find your thing. You use your ears. You use your feet. Isn't that sort of the basics?
Yeah, I suppose it is. Yeah, I mean, it is the basics. But I think there's more to it than that. I think certainly all the people who get trained in O&M would tell you.
I am so sorry to any instructors that are listening. I'm not trying to diminish it at all. But I'm just saying.
I would love you to have a course. I would love you to have some time in it. And interestingly, that's one thing that the guide dogs offer you. Because as part of the guide dog assessment, if they think that actually you do need improvement with O&M and that would actually be better for you than having a dog, they can provide that. So that's actually quite useful. That's one route you can get access to that. But unfortunately, you kind of also have to apply for a dog to get it, which is kind
I'll
of
do
weird.
it.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm joking.
No, but seriously, I mean, I would love to see what you think. Because I'm sure an O&M instructor would love to get their hands on you to say, I can teach you more than you know. Yeah, all you're doing is picking up what you think, right? You're only going by what you know, by what you've experienced, and that's your experience. But getting that external advice. I mean, there was a little thing yesterday, like for example, when I crossed the road, that route I was telling you about yesterday, crossing that road at the narrow point. I was saying to the instructor, what I do is I wait for a car. So in order to know where to cross, I wait for cars to pass. So I just stand on the road, on the pavement, I should say, at the side. And then I wait for cars to go by because that tells me where the cars have kind of crossed into the kind of the narrow bit of the road. Yeah. So I can hear the car kind of come across as it drives past. And I know then, okay, that's the bit where the crossing is. And he said to me, okay, what you could do is you could walk up the same road and stay on the right wall. And there's a pole directly at the crossing.
Clang.
If you can find the pole, that's it. That's your marker. And, it's just little things like you go, oh, yeah, of course. Now, on my own, I was just doing this silly thing. Whereas now with that assistant, that a bit of knowledge there, it's actually made that a lot easier. So, it's the little things that are going to make the biggest difference.
Okay, I'll buy that. I kind of do that already, though. I know, how many drop curbs and when the pavement goes up in the air a little bit.
But what happens when things go wrong? That's the question. When you end up in a situation where you're stuck.
Well, you get stuck. I'm quite relaxed.
Stand there?
I think. No, I just go for a walk around and see what I can find. So I suppose that's the difference. I'm quite relaxed. But then again, if I'm
trying to get home to do something or I'm trying to get somewhere, you can't just stand around.
No.
You're the plant pot man, aren't you? You are plant pot man.
I am pretty much, yes. God bless you, plant pot man. Hero.
Shall we go to Rebecca Skipper?
I think we should.
Concerns about AT market in the US due to the current administration actions. The Trump administration has signed an executive order that will end funding for the Institute of Museum and Library Services, an agency that funds public libraries in the United States. As a long-time user of BARD, the potential loss of services is devastating. Now the administration is starting to dismantle the US Department of Education. Is the AT industry being artificially propped up by the government? And how will AT companies cope with any sudden disruptions? I'm particularly concerned about the low vision and braille display markets, given the cost of most of these specialised products. I want all the specialised phones and players to stay on the market, but can these lines of business remain viable in a consumer-only market if they do not receive federal or state contracts? I'm very concerned about the future of braille and the AT industry in general at this point.
Yeah, Rebecca, I imagine you're not alone in that view. And it's a great question. Can these companies survive purely as consumer-only companies? I don't know if they can, to be perfectly honest. Not the pricing structure that they currently have. Whether that's artificial because of federal funding or whether it's, because that's the genuine cost that's required in order for them to make, or the genuine price to create, pay for everything. That's the really
interesting thing out of this. We would see if actually those price points are, sort of genuine manufacturing costs and a little bit of profit, or if it's artificially raised because of government funding. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many worrying aspects everywhere right now when it comes to pricing and cuts. It's really difficult. But yeah, I think you're right to be concerned.
Let's move on. I want to bring in Sir Scout.
Hey, Shaun, I found you a coffee mug on Amazon. There's several colours to choose from. I just had a thought as well. Maybe a USB cup warmer would be in order. Yes, like a hot plate, Stephen, yet low-powered and only serves one purpose, and it can't move far. Thus, it gets unplugged. Lol. It won't ship to me, but right there in your neck of the woods, as the saying goes. Yes, Double Tap on Air VIP would be awesome. Blinded by the Light, Stephen, is biblical reference first and rock and roll songs second. Stephen is right. I don't want people who are not in our community or in relation with it to contort themselves linguistically when it comes to things like watching television or reading an audiobook, etc. We need more Braille signage in buildings, not just exit signs or restrooms. Maybe the occasional sign inferring or indicating direction towards one of the aforementioned would be great. Sincerely, Scout.
Well, if you've heard my more recent rant about that, I don't know if you'll agree with me or not, Sir Scout, about this, because I was talking about the whole, Braille in buildings and, the value.
How do you know
that
they're
has.
there?
Exactly. That's my ultimate question. How do you even know it's there?
I always feel guilty asking that question. It seems like one of those cited questions that we get asked. But how do you do this? But honestly, I don't know how you find a Braille sign in a building.
I mean, you literally have to walk, unless you ask someone, which seems, again, pointless then.
Yeah, but do you? Is there any sort of standardization? Oh, you will always find Braille sign at a certain level on the
I've never
corner
found it
of
in
a
the same
wall?
location twice. I mean, you wouldn't say, well, it's always to the left of an elevator or it's to the right. Or
I honestly don't know.
Even on the buttons inside elevators, that often they're either not
of course,
there.
yeah.
I mean, sometimes you get the raised number,
Yes.
which is just, okay, is that it?
I just go and press all the buttons. And then
Yeah,
when the
that's
door's
it.
open, I go, anyone know what floor I'm on?
Well, look, I mean, that's the bottom line, isn't it? By the time you faff around, try to figure out where all these things are, someone usually appears. A sightling will pop up and just, say, oh, where are you going? Or, where are you trying to get to?
Yeah.
I mean, if you were walking around a building feeling the walls, I don't know what kind of image that sends out to the world. I don't think that's a great image for blind people to be walking around feeling walls.
Well, it points out the image that there's a blind man trying to make his way around a building. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Yeah, of course.
I think that is the absolute. I'd expect that from some kind of Saturday Night Live skit viewpoint of what blindness is like. Rather than actually what blind people actually do.
It depends what you mean by feeling the walls. I mean
feeling the walls.
Down
No. I mean feeling. If you're looking for Braille in a building, what else are you going to do? You're going to feel the walls. You can't use your Braille scanning eyes to go and say, oh, but I think it's over there.
Might do.
It's nonsense.
Seeing AI to find the actual written text on a signage, and then the Braille would be on top of that, ideally.
And what's the point of then having the Braille?
I don't know.
Because you've just answered the question you were looking for, right?
No. We could have extra information on the Braille.
Like what?
I don't know.
If
it's
done properly,
said.
Yeah, but if it's done properly, then you're just replicating what is written.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to find an argument with you, and I can't.
It's so difficult, isn't it? I mean, it's funny because I sound like I'm kind of against Braille in buildings, and I'm not.
You are, yeah.
But I just wonder.
Damn those buildings.
The more you think about it, you think, well, hang on a minute, who is it for? It feels sometimes it feels a little bit performative, right? Because you think, well, who can actually benefit from it? Unless you know it's there. And by the point, let's say, for example, you're regularly in a building which has Braille on the wall, right? So you're regularly in a building, an office building, say. Once you've kind of got your lay of the land, you're not checking the building every single time, or the door, or the sign. You're not checking it all the time because you know where you're going.
It's only if the information changes you'd want a consistent place for it, and how often is that going to happen? Never.
Yeah, I mean, the only time I've ever been in a place where I found it quite useful was in one of the buildings I worked in once, they had recording studios, right? So you go into the recording studio and it had this little sliding thing on the front. So it would be slid one way for, someone's using it and then someone's not using it.
On air.
Yeah, recording, not recording or whatever, right? So you'd have that and it was in Braille underneath. So you'd know what each side meant.
There you
go. That was the only time I found anything useful because it was on the door. It made sense.
Are we talking nonsense? Let us know. Feedback at doubletaponair.com.
I can't wait for the inbox to flood.
I can't help thinking we're missing something completely obvious when it comes to Braille signage.
Every time I think about it now, the more I think about it, I think, what's the point of it?
Yeah, that's because you're anti-Braille.
The only time I find it useful, I think elevator numbers, Yes.
Yes.
Information where you're naturally going to be going to get, to a button or, to find something. Although sometimes, I mean, as we know when we were at CSUN at that Anaheim Marriott Hotel, I mean, that situation with the elevators made no sense to me. You had to call the elevator outside it. It would tell you which number or letter of carriage you were supposed to get into.
Yes.
And then you had to tell it before you get in it where you were going. None of which I ever achieved, by the way. None.
And you had to press the make this accessible button.
Oh, yes, and that was the other thing. Because I said to someone, but it doesn't work, it's not accessible. I said, you got to press the make accessible button. How would I know that?
Well, from the Braille signage that was right in front of you that we couldn't find.
Which probably wasn't there either. Oh, it's so ridiculous. It really is. Right, let's get one more. It's our good friend Ryan Kelly.
Hey!
Ooh, double tappers.
Ooh!
Ooh, Stephen and ooh, Shaun. I'm waiting in a station waiting room. I'm going to see my sister, and I'm in between trains. So that's why the extraneous noise may be there. But I just wanted to share with you a little, it's not a foolproof solution, but it does help a bit with Siri. And that is, if you can be capable of doing it, speak in RP to Siri. I never use Hey Siri. I've got that switched off. But if I'm using, I don't know, if I want to speak to it properly, it doesn't always get my accent as well. And I imagine that's a problem for lots of people. So I go into sort of RP, or receive pronunciation. It may be called something else in America or Canada. I don't know. It probably isn't, but you'll all know what I mean. So if I speak like, the rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain. So if I speak like that to it, then I open music, and I speak to that, send a text message to myself. I have to speak like that, really quite posh. RP, clearly at least not posh. If I speak to that, it tends to work most of the time. So open voice vista, also separate the words out. And the reason I do that is because you had to do that to start with when it first came out, with the iPhone 4S came out. And I can remember sort of sitting there and saying, call blah, blah, blah. And my dad was saying, what are you talking to you like that for? Really broad Glasgow accent. And I was like, because my mum just went, because he has to, because he doesn't understand, wouldn't understand anything you said, Johnny. But the reason that he talks like that to it is because it tends to work for him. So speak like that all the time when you're using Siri. That tends to work normally. I won't say it's foolproof, but it usually works. Cheers, guys. Take care. Bye.
Oh, thank you, Ryan. Appreciate that muchly.
That is so cool. I mean, do you have any problems with Siri and your accent, Stephen Scott? Not that you've got a particularly strong one.
Thanks. No, I don't.
Well, you haven't.
I haven't, no, I know. And I've been quite lucky that most of the time it's okay, but it depends, right? Because, when I'm off air, I'm a little bit more relaxed and my Glasgow accent comes out a little bit more.
The new Jimmy.
Exactly, that's right. Stop your tickling jock, etc. Yeah, go check that song out. That's a very amusing song. If you like amusing songs about tickling people, you'd find that rather enjoyable. But yeah.
So Siri is
that's everyone off Googling that now.
Yeah,
listening to the end of the show.
No one's listening anymore.
No.
Siri is classist. You got to talk posh to it.
Well, you remember there was a time where a lot of accents just were not understood at all.
Yeah.
Because
it's
it was
still a
very
problem.
early days, it was still very early days.
It's still a problem today. It is still an issue with it, and he is right. I find not so much talking posh, because I can't talk posh, because I'm common, but if you do take your time and do separate out the words, then it does help a lot. You're absolutely right. But sometimes, I ain't got time for that. Thank you.
Which accent was that?
No, that was just me saying.
Oh, I see. Right, okay.
Sorry.
Was that an attempt? That wasn't an attempt at an accent, was it?
No, definitely not. Thank you, Ryan.
Definitely
but of course, Ryan, a established professional voice actor there.
That's right, absolutely. Most notably in The Archers. I feel we get royalty listening to us on the show.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, that's why he's on Radio 4 and we're not.
Yeah.
Okay, so
we're awful.
Let's move on to Pete.
Hi, Stephen and Shaun. Now that I have signed up for the newsletter, do I get a Mr. F badge? Just asking.
Yes.
Enjoying all the shows, especially the interview with Ira and the AI episode. Take care, from Pete in Robin Hood County.
Well, yes, absolutely. If there's such a thing exists, you get it.
We should make that happen. Let's look into merch.
Yeah, you keep saying this, and then you
Yeah.
don't do anything about it. So it's not happening.
Well, I keep saying it. That's my contribution. I'm not
I
actually
see.
doing anything. We need tactile merch. Who does tactile merch? Get in touch. Feedback at doubletaponair.com.
Great. More spam. Right, so the amount of garbage I get in that junk email box, I'm sure it comes because of the things you say on this show.
Sorry.
Let's go to Damian.
Hi guys, Damian, aka the Blind Barrister here.
Oof.
I find it somewhat surprising that you still have the difficulty with Siri directing you to Google. There is a setting in settings where you can have it in a way that if Siri doesn't know the answer, it automatically gives you the ChatGPT answer. If on the rare occasion that it gives you a stupid answer or directs you to a website, if you just re-ask the question, but start by telling it to ask ChatGPT, then it will automatically do that. I am running iOS 18.5 on a 16 Pro.
Thanks for that, Damien. Yeah, look, I think for me, the issue is that I'm having to use Siri to kind of get to GPT when I could just use ChatGPT, and get into the voice mode and have a proper conversation. And, the great thing, I don't think people realize this, but with the voice mode, everything's being kind of transcribed as you go along. So once you finish the conversation, it's all there. So if it references like a website or, resources or whatever, it will all be there for you so you can easily get back to it. Whereas I don't know if that's possible with the Siri one. I haven't tended to bother too much with the Siri integration with ChatGPT. I used ChatGPT in voice mode for a while. I haven't gone back to it for a while, actually, because the one I use most is Gemini.
Yes, since it's now got the screen share and vision functionality on the free tier.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right, though. The Siri integration with ChatGPT, or the other way around, has improved. And it does work okay. And I think you can even ask follow-on questions through ChatGPT when Siri answers. But I think the problem we were talking about Siri chucking everything to Google all the time was more for if I'm trying to make a call and it says, here's the results for a call, mum.
Yeah, that's
in
right.
Google.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not it. There's some things that aren't actual questions, more commands that I don't want ChatGPT to handle anyway, but seems to be just thrown out as a Google search. And it's just, oh, come on, just figure out the context that I'm trying to get to. But you're right. I think ChatGPT actually isn't too bad inside of Lady S. Stop saying her name. But Stephen, you're also right as well. Why wouldn't I just go straight to the source?
Well, that's the thing. That's it for me, and I've set mine up with the action button, and I might go back to using ChatGPT again because I know I pay for Plus on that, so I will get the video option as well. And they're all improving at such a speed that you kind of, if you haven't used it for a couple of weeks, you go back to it and you go, this is actually not too bad this week, or some days it has an off day.
Yeah.
I don't know how well it's improving. I mean, I'm.
I don't think they are
by a lot of it.
improving. I've changed my mind.
No, I'm impressed by a lot of it. I'm impressed by a lot of the simple things, like I was saying to you the other day, and I know I've brought this up a few times, but the whole thing with, finding out which, who the letter was for that came to the door. Didn't read the entire thing to me. I thought that was really useful because that's the kind of everyday stuff that I want to know. I want to know who's this parcel for, or what's this about, or what's the total on this bill, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, things that tap see and seeing.
Yeah, but I can get it my
doing
glasses, and it's nice. I don't have to pull out the phone and open an app. It's all just
you're
there.
talking about your glasses, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'll give you that. I just think that this arms race between AI companies, I think actually they're doing more harm because it seems like they're throwing more and more info at it with less and less checking of that info. The amount of hallucinations, I believe, is going up rather than coming down. And I think it's because it's just trying to be the jack of all trades and master of none.
Someone said to me the other day, it's the level of confidence that it gives you the wrong answer. That's the bit that's always unnerving, isn't it? It's like it will tell you with absolute confidence.
Yeah, until you say, correct. That's not right. And it say, oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. That's not right.
This is
Sorry
absolute
about
garbage.
that. Yeah. Come on. But
Just a quick reminder, a quick programming note before we go that we are going to be off next week. So from Monday to Friday next week, there'll be no podcast, no YouTube videos. We're going to be going dark for 5 days.
Insensitive, Stephen.
Sorry, I apologise. Apologise to all the people out there.
What's your language?
I nearly said something that would have got me cancelled immediately, which would have been completely out of context. But anyway, yes, so we're off next week, and as a result of just saying that, I don't think we're ever coming back. But no, we will be back the week after. We're going to be live from Sight Village as well. That's going to be fun. Going to be travelling down there on the Sunday. So we'll tell you all about our trips to Sight Village in Birmingham.
Come and say hello.
Come say hello. Yeah, we're going to have a stand there as well. Check out the dates for that on the Sight Village website and come along and say hello. We'll be there on the Monday. But yes, we will be off next week, just to remind you. But for now, we'll be back tomorrow with plenty more of your feedback. Thanks, Shaun.
Thank you. Bye-bye.